Hello and welcome to PMCLounge.com. This is Lounge Fever, a series of videos where we try to answer your questions. And these days, since we are covering agile topics, we keep receiving questions around agile, right? So the question that we are trying to answer today is, what exactly does this mean? Making decisions at last responsible moment. This is connected to one of the agile principles, and I'll share that principle in the coming slide as well. But what exactly does this mean? Is this even correct? Making decisions at last responsible moment? That's what we are going to discuss today. And as always, some of the important links will be in the description of this video. All the videos that we have done as part of Lounge Fever series for Agile, all your FAQs answered, that will be the first link in the description. Second link is going to be a playlist that is going to help you out if you're preparing for your PMP exam. All the agile related topics for your PMP exam will be covered in that playlist. And third link, if you are preparing for your PMI ACP exam, that playlist is going to be helpful. Let's get started. Quick reminder, please hit the like button and spread the word about PMC Lounge. So let's take a look at the agile principle that I was talking about. Welcome changing requirements, even late in development. So even if you're late for in your development cycle, even if you're late there, you should still welcome changing requirements. Agile process harness change for customers' competitive advantage. And I hope you see how this agile principle is actually related to the question that we are trying to answer in this video, which is about taking decisions at the last responsible moment, right? So when you are welcoming of changes, even if you're late in your development, you are essentially taking decisions very late as well, right? You are taking decisions only at the last responsible moment, and that's how you welcome changes, because even if change comes late, you are still ready for them because you have not taken decisions for the entire project, for the entire cycle in the beginning itself, right? You are taking decisions at the last responsible moment, and that way you are able to welcome changing requirements even if you are late in the development, right? So let's see how that agile principle connects here. Scrum teams make decisions at the last responsible moment. And I know if you're, someone from the traditional waterfall project management environment, you might think, is this even correct? Does this, isn't this weird where you're taking decision at the last responsible moment, right? But Scrum teams make project decisions that need to be made right now, and they leave rest for later. And I hope you see how this is connected to welcoming changes, how this is connected to welcoming changes even if you're late in the development cycle, because there are some decisions that you have still not taken, right? Because you've just made the decisions, you've just taken the decisions which were required right now, and you have left the rest for later. So even if there are changes later, you can still incorporate those changes. And that's how Scrum teams, they basically make decisions at the last responsible moment. If you're looking to clear your PMP exam in 50 days, we have a free study plan for you. Head over to pmclounge.com/PMP study plan and get your free copy. So in the traditional approach, like I just mentioned, you basically plan the work and work the plan. And that is why you take as many decisions as possible in the beginning itself. Everything is out there on paper in front of you. All decisions are already made. And taking a decision at last responsible moment, which is what we are talking about today, it might sound weird and it might almost sound wrong to you, right? Because if you have worked in this environment where you plan the work and then work the plan, then obviously you are not waiting for the last responsible moment to basically make a decision. And this is the new way of thinking that agile introduces. This is about decision making. This is about decision making, and this is something very different for majority of non-agile teams that have never worked on agile. This is definitely different. This is definitely something new. But how does this happen? How does this take place on ground? Let's take a look at that. So here are the 5 points that will help you understand how decisions are taken at the last responsible moment. Point number one is in your product backlog. Remember, we are talking about the product backlog, not the sprint backlog, the backlog of the entire product. So in the product backlog, there is just enough details documented about each item so that sprint planning can start. So you're not taking all the decisions at the product backlog level itself, right? You're not adding all the details required for every single item in the product backlog itself. What you're doing is just enough details in at that product backlog level. That's point number one, to understand how decisions are taken at the last responsible moment. Now, during sprint planning, so this was product backlog, now you're talking about sprint backlog because you're planning your sprint. So during sprint planning, the team decomposes enough of the sprint backlog to get the team started. So not every single item in the sprint backlog is decomposed or planned or taken decision for at the sprint planning session itself. Not everything is decomposed, only the work planned for the first days of sprint is. So you don't decompose everything in your sprint backlog in the sprint planning session. What you decompose is the work that is planned for the first few days of the sprint. Now, I hope you understood how we've delayed the decision of the entire sprint in point number two as well, right? We have only decomposed work that is required for the first days of sprint. Point number three is self-organizing teams. Now we've talked about self-organizing teams. I'll share a link in the description if you want to check that video out. Self-organizing teams don't need to plan every task and its order, not just the task, but in the order at which this task will be performed, right? So self-organizing teams, they don't have to go into the painstaking details of all this and plan everything upfront, right? They trust each other to make good decisions when the time comes. And that is a very important point of a self-organizing team. There is mutual trust and there is the belief that good decisions will be made when the time comes to make a decision, right? As team works through the sprint backlog, if new tasks and changes are discovered, they are discussed in the daily scrum meeting. We talked about the daily scrum meeting when we talked about the self-organizing team in that video as well, right? And if you're looking for daily scrum, the second link, which is the entire playlist of all the videos, that is also going to help you understand all these sessions if you're not aware of sprint planning session, daily scrum and all that, right? So if there are new tasks and changes that are discovered while the team is working on the sprint, right, they are discussed in the daily scrum and a plan is created for the next 24 hours. Now I hope you still see the point how the scrum team is not making decisions for everything, right? Here also the decision or the plan is created only for the next 24 hours, because daily scrum is a daily meeting, and if you need to discuss more for the next 24 hours after these 24 hours are up, you can always discuss it in the next daily scrum, right? So the plan is created only for the next 24 hours, and this again helps the scrum team to take a decision at the last responsible moment. Finally, remember, scrum teams, they are constantly inspecting and they are constantly adapting. That's what scrum teams do. That's how scrum teams function. So I hope you understood how on the ground, with the help of these 5 points, how on the ground scrum teams take decision at the last responsible moment, and they don't plan everything upfront. They don't believe in plan the work and work the plan kind of thing which is followed in the waterfall, a traditional waterfall approach. Question for this video, and this could be a good question if you're taking up a job interview as well. How has your experience of applying this agile principle been? We talked about the agile principle in the beginning. We also discussed how scrum teams on actual projects, how do they take decisions at the last responsible moment, right? So how has your experience of applying this agile principle been? Let me know in the comments. Like I said, a good question for your Scrum Master interview as well. So that's all that we had in this video. I hope you got value out of it. Subscribe to the channel and hit the bell icon to stay notified. Do hit the like button if you got value out of this video, don't forget to check out our website pmclounge.com, and if you like our work, do consider contributing to us at pmclounge.com/contribute. Thank you and have a nice day.